All right, I think we should begin, and I think people can keep on joining in.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the second episode of the Marketing Lens. And after the first episode, where we spoke a lot about the new normal for hospitality marketing, we felt that we should move towards a topic which is really in everyone's mind right now. It's about how we can utilize the immersive technology in our marketing campaigns. And that's why we took up this whole topic about infinite possibilities of immersive hospitality marketing with AR, VR, and MR. And I think we were really happy with the kind of interaction that we got in the first one, where we were able to communicate a lot, answer a lot of questions, and we would like to carry this on in this session as well. For the people who are joining us for the first time in this episode, I'm Shiva. I run a creative agency called Stroke Works, and with me on the call today we have Preetham from Marriott, right? So we'll be co-hosting this entire session. What will we be taking you through today? So, first of all, I mean, I know that all of us have been hearing a lot about VR, AR, MR, and these have really been the buzzwords for quite some time in the market. But what's the fuss all about, right? Like, we need to understand what this technology is all about. How are people and brands already using it? And how is it that the hospitality sector can utilize these technologies, especially in this whole post-COVID era where we are going contactless? How do we really get that warmth of hospitality uh, out, right? So I think that's what we're going to touch upon. We're going to talk about the hospitality scenario currently, which basically touches upon what are the key challenges in marketing in the hospitality sector right now. And then we move into what are the solutions for it and how we can look into AR, VR, MR solutions to take us through those marketing challenges that we foresee for you, right? And as I told you, I'll be co-hosting this session with Preetham. Preetham, you want to take over? I think you have to unmute yourself if you're talking.
Sure. Hi Shiva, it's always pleasure to be online with you. And as promised in the last session, we will be taking this new topic and we'll be taking it from the viewpoint of a hotel. As I represent Marriott International here, and Shiva will see how, from an agency perspective, we can effectively create solutions and help us as a group understand this better. So yes, I'm very excited for today, and I hope that we will be able to provide you some really useful knowledge and practical applications of these technologies that we have been hearing about for all this while. To set the pretext right, and to just I want to bring your attention to the point that these are not just buzzword or technologies of the modern era. The fact that AR, VR, MR touches our very life makes it so important when it comes to our lives as we live and hospitality marketing. To touch upon very three aspects very quickly. First is time travel. Since our childhood, we always want to go back to the times when we were more joyful and happier. So in my personal life, when I was small, I used to write poetry. And whenever I go back and read those poems, I feel that I'm a child again. Similarly, when I or we passed out our colleges and we had pictures clicked with our friends, when we see those pictures, it takes back us to those times. And same goes for videos, for weddings, and for birthdays that we create. So whenever we create all these memories, the very purpose is that we want to secure them for an indefinite time. We want them to be immortal. We want to be able to go back to that time and live that time and that joyful moment again. So this is a very human nature to go back to time and to visit those moments which have been past. And if it was not for written text or for pictures or videos, it would not have been possible. And this is the reason why this technology, the camera and all that has developed. But now this is a time to take it forward, because human beings always want more. They're not just satisfied with 2D images or videos. They really want more uh, when it comes to time travel. Similarly, immortality. We want to live forever. We don't want, nobody wants to die. In the unfortunate situation of coronavirus, we have come across situations where people are not able to attend to their near and dear ones' funerals, and they're doing it maybe through Zoom or through a video. And there's a very curious case. I don't know if you've heard about. There was a documentary in South Korea where a mother actually met her dead daughter in virtual reality. So while nobody wants the near ones to die, but in case they die and you still want to say final goodbye to them, it is possible through virtual reality that you can actually go and meet them, and the whole scenario can be created in a way that it is more real than real. And if you look at the screen fatigue, we are watching mobile screens and televisions all the time. There will be a point when we want to go beyond these limitations of the screen and watch things which are more real, which are more dimensional. And since childhood we have been playing games, but Pokemon Go took the gaming thing to the next level because you're interacting with things which were there in your augmented reality on your phone, but were not there actually. So this is not just technology, this is a human wish to live forever, to meet the people who have gone and left us, to go back in time and see what they want to be, what the moment they want to live again. And the last point is that we want to be everywhere. If you remember your childhood, when there was a Captain Vyom TV serial where the characters could teleport themselves, so they could be there at one point, next moment they could go at some other point. In even in same goes with what story of Narad Muni. And very recently, when there was elections, we had seen Narendra Modi campaigning through holograms. So while he was not there, he was still there very much, as you much could see. And same technology was used in Avatar movie where the characters that we're seeing were not real, but they were created, and they were more real than real, and they interacted with characters which were real. So to conclude, human beings want to live forever. They want to experience everything very deeply, and the technologies that we're discussing today have grown because of this need. And because they have grown because of this need, they're very close to us, and they are there going to be there for future times, very long time. And if we learn them how and use them for our own marketing, use them for our own fulfilling our wishes, then we'll actually see and integrate this entire session that we have organized for you. Uh, Over to you, Shiva. Let's give us some real life examples how we can use this now.
Absolutely. Um, so just to, that's a very nice analogy in terms of, all the technology and the different new varieties of mix of technology that we get into marketing. It arises from a pure human emotion. And as you mentioned, time travel, being omnipresent, right? These are the cases where, like, it just, it's the inspiration for the technology in such a way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly take you through these three technologies that we're talking about today, which is VR, AR, and MR. And then we're going to dive into some examples and just see how people have already used it in their marketing campaigns and how can you use it in your campaign. So the first one is virtual reality. I think something which all of us have already heard and explored as well. Virtual reality, it just enables a full immersive experience for us, and it blocks out the physical world. So basically what you're sitting and seeing will be completely different, right? You will not see any part of your actual physical world, and you are immersed into a different world altogether. I think that's the simplest way of understanding virtual reality. uh, Moving on to augmented reality. Augmented reality is where you place digital objects in the physical world, right? And the best example for that, I think, which a lot of people have already explored, is Pokemon Go, right? Where you're just walking around with your camera, and in your real world, in the physical world that you can see with your eyes, you're seeing objects come, right? That is the power of augmented reality. However, the limitation in the basic augmented reality version was that the objects would be like holograms, and you might not be able to interact much with those digital objects. And that is the reason why the need for mixed reality came in. So with mixed reality, what happened was that they tried to combine both these aspects of virtual reality and augmented reality. So you could be in a, you could feel that you're at a different location altogether. You can have different objects around you, and you can interact and process with the objects. A very basic example to give would be, I think all of these sci-fi movies that we had seen earlier, right? Minority Report or any of these movies, you would see that they would just wear these glasses and they're able to do all their, they're able to make presentations, they're able to chalk out their calendar for the day, and it's all in the air in an augmented environment, right? So that's mixed reality, and that's also being used by spatial computing. So a lot of companies have already started exploring that. We might enter into a future where you don't have laptops or computers, you're just wearing a glass and you're basically controlling everything from there. Moving on, there's something called XR too, and this is, I mean, that's just the extreme end of how far technology can really go. So XR is basically extended reality, which is a combination of all these three technologies, and it basically turns into a superhuman in a way because you can control every aspect of your life and you're immersed into a different life altogether. You can place objects, you can interact with them, you can make a difference in the environment, you can literally teleport in a way. So if I'm sitting here currently in Pune, you guys are based out of everywhere in India, we could do a collective meeting where we could see each other. That's the power that these technologies have. And you'll feel that you're in the same room, right? Just going a little into virtual reality more. So the very base of virtual reality is something that all of us have already experienced and seen. A lot of you, if you come from the hospitality or any other sector, you might have used your 360-degree videos to use to showcase your property. You might have used it to showcase an apartment. So 360-degree view videos really give you the introduction to VR in a way, right? Because sitting at home, I can look at the hotel, I can go around the hotel, I can watch the 360-degree view, and that's just the beginning, right? Then there's something called interactive VR. Interactive VR is, just imagine that you're in the hotel and you're walking, you're sitting on the laptop and you feel that you're inside a hotel because in your screen you're seeing a 360-degree view of the hotel, and you're able to interact. Let's say there's a bartender, right? And the bartender is giving you an option of which cocktail would you like me to make and show it to you, right? You can do that selection on your screen and he'll make that particular cocktail for you. So that is how far interactive VR has gone. There's something called social VR which is coming up. So remember when Facebook and all came up, all of us were very excited because it was just such a different social networking platform, and the limitation of Facebook was just the fact that it's in 2D. So you can send messages, you can see your friends' photos, you can do a video chat now, you can do all of that, but you still don't feel that you're right there. You can't enjoy the same game of cricket together, right? If you're in different cities. Social VR is taking things to another level where even platforms like Facebook are planning on turning their platform to a virtual reality world where you can still meet your friends. Once you put on the headset, you feel that you're in a different world. Your friend is right next to you, and together you're watching the IPL, which all of us missed this year, right? So that's an example of social VR, and that's where virtual reality is moving towards. Some of the common myths that we have of virtual reality is that it's expensive to build the entire environment. Only headset enabled. So yes, the experience is obviously way better when you have those VR headsets, right, from Oculus, and there are different brands with different headsets. The cheapest one I think you know about, the Google Cardboard, right? But it's not necessary that you need to have an headset. So the 360 videos can be web based. So we'll just take you through an example, I think, on the screen of an interactive 360 experience. So if we could just play the video, I think we could see that happening.
It's playing actually.
Okay. Yeah. So in virtual reality, in these 360-degree experiences, what you can see is you can move around the entire hotel environment. You can see what's happening, and you can see people in motion around you. So that just gives a more real life experience to the entire thing, right? And there are also interaction based. So I think towards the end of the video, we have a part where We can see that the bartender is interacting with the person. So that's the kind of possibility that you have now with 360-degree videos that a lot of hotels can probably go into. Can everyone see it on the screen? If someone could, you can use the chat box as well if there's any difficulty that you're facing.
I
I think
think
a
they
lot of
can't
people
see.
can't see it, Preetham. Is it possible for us to play it again? You'll have to click on that start button and then go to it. Yeah, just go ahead with the video.
I think it's not happening within the slide. I had opened it separately on my system and shared the screen.
Yeah.
It's not going through. So let's move on. We'll share this separately with the team.
All right. I think we can just come back to it. So this is an example of what we basically wanted to show you here was a 360 video and how it can be turned interactive. I think towards the end, Preetham, if you could try to play that again, it should
Sure.
work. Yeah. Moving on into AR. So now we've understood the entire VR environment, right? So the VR environment is basically when your entire physical world gets blocked out and you've entered into a different world, is what you feel like. It can be done through the headset or without the headset. Now, the augmented reality, the exciting part is that it really brings you to the try before you buy experience. And how that kicks in is because it places the objects that you're looking at in your physical world, right? So, like whatever I'm seeing right now from my eyes, I can see, let's say I want to purchase a phone, right? So I can see the phone right in front of me pop up, and all the features can be looked at about the phone or a particular car. And that's really the benefit of augmented reality, that in your real physical environment, you can see the product. Because of the corona situation and the whole contactless experience, we might not be that active in terms of going out and touching and feeling the products that we usually buy. So the ER environment is really just going to bring the product to you in a way. You can select, you can customize, you can see the entire experience before you make that purchase decision. As we mentioned on the right, you can see the Pokemon Go experience. An interesting fact is, so AR can be enabled through two different things. So a lot of us have seen QR-based AR. So basically, you scan a QR code, and then the entire experience begins for you. What Pokemon did was they used a GPS based system for AR. So if you're at a particular location, that environment activates for you, right? And this way, a lot of brands, I think there was a Mexican restaurant, and because they had GPS enabled Pokemons within their restaurant, their sales went up like about 25 or 30% that particular month. So that's the benefit, that when your customers are really getting engaged because of the AR environment, they're going to purchase more because they're interacting with your brand for a longer period. Something which is very beautiful with AR is that it can also be triggered in a web environment. And we'll just show you this ad if everyone can see this Swiss International Air ad. This is how an airlines company used augmented reality. So if you see, it asks you to use the camera on your phone. As soon as you switch on the camera, this is your real life environment, right? This is what you can see from your camera. And suddenly this lady pops up along with the boarding door for your flight. And once you immerse into that, you can see the entire flight. You can see the comfort. You can put in information, right? You can basically show all your USPs of of what you have as a product. And just imagine, guys, in the hotel environment, right now, all of us are talking about hygiene measures, right, that we are taking for our hotel. Now, just imagine including hygiene videos in an AR environment. So, your guests are actually experiencing the property, and at the same time, they're getting informed about the hygiene measures that you've taken up, right? So, that's a unique example of AR and how already people are using it. We move on to mixed reality. So mixed reality is what I really like to explain it in the way is that it basically blurs the line between the physical and the digital world, right? You are not in a It doesn't require to be in the same space because it's not like you're seeing the same things that are there around you. But it's a digital world. You can recreate an entire environment, and at the same time, you can interact with that environment. A museum had done this beautifully, and I think it was Canada Tourism. They did it along with another brand, and they had a museum where they tried to showcase how the museum was 10 years back in the present time and how the museum is going to be after 15 years. So they showed that through mixed reality, right? So people wore their headsets and they were able to see what the museum used to host 10 years back, what it's hosting right now. You could interact with the paintings. So as soon as you see a painting, it'll come to life and it'll explain about the artist. And then, it just created like a very wholesome experience for people. Mixed reality, one of the best examples right now is Magic Leap. I think you guys should really see what they've done. They've really brought the entire laptop and computer literally into your eyes. This is what it looks like. So let's say you wake up, this is your physical environment, this is your room. Within your room, you're getting all your data, right? What notifications are there for today? What's the weather like? Right? So all of that information that you probably used to see on your phone earlier is coming in your real life environment. That is the power of mixed reality, and that is something which will still take time to adopt. But I think the tech companies are really doing their best to make the adoption easier for all of us. Moving ahead. Now, what we're going to really talk about is I hope that the differentiation between VR, AR, and MR has been clear for everyone who's there on the call. You guys can use the chat box constantly, so I'll also get an idea of what you're going through in this entire session. If you guys feel that the differentiation between VR, AR, and MR has been clear enough, we can proceed forward from there. All right, thanks, Shraddha. So now we're going to go into the trends of the contactless world. So now that we understand the technology really well, let's just understand why do we need to know about these technologies and what's really happening. So the first thing that we need to understand is that e-learning is using this technology like mad, right? So e-learning is so all your even early education for kids as small as 5 years old, 6 year old. In order to make the education more immersive, we are using AR and VR technology. So just imagine if kids are already using the VR headsets, they're already using augmented reality in their daily life. The kind of marketing that we guys are doing right now is really not going to hit them, right? Even when they once they grow up, the environment has changed a bit too much. So e-learning has already really taken off VR AR. Everyone is investing in it. I think one of the things that I personally use with my business and um, I suggest a lot of people is that always go towards the signs that a lot of these companies like Google and Facebook are moving towards. Google has invested in HoloLens, which is your basic MR headset. You have Microsoft has invested in HoloLens. Then you've got Apple, which has already invested in the AR environment. Facebook has invested big in terms of the AR environment. They've already purchased that company Oculus for the VR headsets. They have also started enabling AR based ads on their platform. So that's a move that they're taking. The AR shopping experience has been introduced. So a lot of brands, what they're doing is they are putting ads on your mobile phone. Let's say we are talking about a sunglass ad. You can see the sunglasses, you can select it, you can try it on your face using your mobile and the FaceTime camera, and then you can make your purchase decision. So even the shopping experience has been turned into the AR environment. Facebook and TikTok are already implementing AR ads. So they're already trying on how these ads can go up on our social media feed. Once they enable that, most of your brands are going to start using that type of ad. That means that hospitality also, where we are all experiential, we talk about experiences. We've got to translate those experiences in the digital environment. Headsets are the game changers. I think that has always been the challenge with adopting this technology because like a Google Cardboard headboard is cheap. It's like a couple of hundred or 1,000 rupees. And then the headsets are pretty expensive. It goes to 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, and beyond that. And in the current environment, obviously, we don't see a lot of people. It's not going to become like a household item, right? So that is one biggest challenge that we have with VR. But when the VR is enabled on the web or on the mobile, or the AR is enabled on the web or the mobile, it becomes friendly for us, right? We do see that towards the future, how this industry is developing. The headsets are becoming smaller, they are more powerful, they are less expensive, so there will be more adoption. We won't have to go towards a situation where we look stupid wearing like a box on our head, because it's just literally going to be a glass. The last point and the biggest point for India, and I think something all of us struggle with, is good bandwidth and lower latency rate. So with next year, hopefully the 5G rolling out, the internet infrastructure of our country would be such that we would be using a lot of these AR ads, VR based marketing. And I think that's what's really going to kick in very strong. What we also need to understand is that we consume content as per the internet infrastructure. So when we started using internet, we were doing a lot of articles. Videos were always there, but we were not consuming it. Why? Because we did not have that internet infrastructure to just stream videos. We are already in that environment where we can just stream videos, watch an entire length movie on our phone and around 4Gs. With 5G kicking in, the VR and AR environment is just going to boom. So it's better that we get prepared for it now. Yeah.
Yeah, before we move on, I just want to add 2 points here. One is, most of the phones that we use nowadays, the latest models, they are already VR enabled, and even YouTube supports VR now. So all
Correct.
you need is a cardboard. The phone that you have is already VR enabled. If you are watching a video on YouTube, which we all do, it is already VR enabled. So technology is very much there with us, and as time goes by, there are already VR videos which are live on YouTube, and more content producers will keep adding on to it, and it will become more and more household as time goes by.
Correct. Now comes the another portion which we gone. I think we've understood the trends now, like how the entire environment is moving towards VR and AR, and why we should start investing in uplifting our marketing assets towards this. We're just going to dive into particularly on the hospitality marketing side. So we're just going to go into some of the data. So I know that all of us have been reading a lot about, when will we start traveling again? When will we see like a growth path for our industry? So Google just came out with a new report, and it was about the state of travel in APAC. And this is a during Corona report. And there are some signs of hope for us. And I thought I'll share it with you guys, because once I read it, as a person who works in the hospitality sector, supporting a lot of clients with their marketing campaigns, I felt good about reading that, and I thought I'll share it with you guys as well. More than 25% of respondents in India said that they will be traveling domestically in the next 3 months. Right, so people are already in that mode of traveling. They are already in that. I think because of the lockdown, they really want to come out of their houses and travel, and that's what the Google report was really talking about. In Taiwan and Philippines, people have already started searching for resorts and all-inclusive deals, right? Which is again a very good early sign for the hospitality sector, that I think people sitting in their homes might be a little worried and scared, but I think with our efforts of showcasing the hygiene measures that are being taken, they would be comfortable to travel soon enough. And this is in the 3 month environment that we're talking about. Another thing which is very important for us to know, so before we start using the technology for our marketing campaign, let's just try to understand what the consumer is also searching for and what are they looking at. They obviously want us to prioritize safety and cleanliness. I think that's what they're looking at when they're searching. They are looking at discounts and flexibility. Um, they are looking more, obviously, because the borders haven't opened up. So they are looking at making domestic travel. So I think a lot of us as hotel brands, we can start looking at the domestic business and how we can really capture on that particular business. Another important point is maintaining digital hygiene, because post Corona, when you open up as a hotel, there'll be so many things which have changed, right? Some of your offers are still not valid. A lot of things that you used to talk about earlier will not be valid. So it's important to maintain digital hygiene across all platforms, make sure your data is updated. And when I say maintain digital hygiene, I also talk about your marketing assets. I think We moved away from that world. I mean, there was print advertising. We used to do a lot of advertising in newspapers and magazines. We moved towards a digital age. We started using social media. We started making video content because we wanted people to immerse in our content. Right now, I think the third step has come, and which is you have to move away from 2D content and you have to move towards 3D content, because that's really what's immersive content. And most of the people are already in a way introduced to this content because they're playing games like Pokemon Go. They're watching. I don't know how many of you saw that series on Netflix, Bandersnatch, where you could make selections while watching a movie. So that's the kind of motion that we've gotten into. Right. I think this is the part where I would like to hand it over to Preetham, because we've understood what the consumers are looking at in terms of their searches. What I think it's very important for all of us on the call to understand what's the state of hospitality right now. Uh, what's the state of marketing, and what are the challenges that you foresee that this industry could face?
Sure, sure. So basically, hospitality is a service industry, and I'm proud to be part of this for last 15 years. And one thing that we are missing and we are going to miss are the smiles of our team members and the guests as they used to interact. Because for a lot of time that's going to come, you'll have masks and shields, in place, but that doesn't remove the essence of what hospitality is. And as you mentioned, as per the trends, we will look forward to come back and come back smarter and better than what we are. So primarily, to recap, from a hotelier's point of view, there are three major sources of revenue that we have. Rooms is the most profitable channel because the variable costs are less and the fixed costs have already been done in a past time. Restaurants, when people come to dine out, again is a very profitable point of sale. And because of corona, there have been very few takers of people actually coming and dining it, while the focus has shifted on food delivery, which is not as profitable as dining in, neither as profitable as rooms, but is an alternate and new revenue source that hotels are looking at. And the third most important revenue source is events, where we are looking at both corporate events and social events and weddings. And in my knowledge, we have lots of hotels who thrive and who meet their yearly budgets based on the weddings that they can take for the year. Right now, with the restrictions, everything has to be re-engineered, the spaces, the arrangements, keeping in mind the maximum number of persons that can attend a meeting or a wedding. So all the three major revenue points are impacted. If you go further in detail and we look at where are the challenges, or the way I would like to put it as where are the opportunities. So from F&B perspective, food delivery, as I mentioned, is a new venue of income. And given the scenario and the fact that the current pandemic has impacted people's habits, food delivery was already there in a big way with Swiggy and Zomato. It will only become bigger. And now you will have not only the budget and smaller outlets out there, but the most premium of restaurants will be selling, and at a price which will be, not as costly as it was earlier. So the challenge here will be to differentiate. Now that every restaurant is delivering, how do our restaurant or the one you manage or support differentiate its products and convince the end user to book or buy from you and not from your competitor? The other challenge here is that when it comes to restaurant, we do not have a booking engine. Like, as I said, rooms were the major revenue earner. So our focus was on the room booking engine. For Marriott, we have got something called Marsha. For IG, there's Holidex. And for all different chains, there are different uh, channel managers for bookings. And for independent hotels, there are solutions like Star and many others. But for restaurants, we didn't had one which was fully developed. And The only way at this point is to obviously depend on Swiggy and Zomato and do something whatever you can do offline. But there is definitely a need to have a restaurant booking engine, and also how will you depict your online food menu. So when you are at the hotel, you can actually fill the food menu, right? And maybe you can order a sample dish that you want to check before you order, or you can see the food on the buffet. But how can we have the same experience online? That's another challenge. And even the people who are in the hotel would like to order food, how you upsell food to them is another challenge. So this is a new source of revenue which comes with its own challenges because it's new. Similarly, hygiene practices, as Shiva you rightly mentioned, the hotel which can showcase that it has its hygiene practices in placed in a better way, more organized and effective, will gain customers, because it's not the question of how much costly or cheaper you are, it's question of how safe you are as a place to stay. And in Marriott, we have launched a program called We Care and Commitment to Clean, where we have showcasing all those elements. And even at hotel level, we are creating those touch points. But the problem is that obviously we don't want to print too many collaterals, right? We don't want to put QR codes all over the place. So while we want to convey the hygiene practices to guests who have not yet come to the hotel or those who are already in house, but how do we do it effectively without incurring collateral print costs? You know, another challenge or opportunity. Then meeting spaces. The meeting spaces are designed for large gatherings, and that's how, as hotels, we made our revenue from events. Now, with social distancing and minimal attending capacities as per government, the whole space has to be redesigned. Now, that's another challenge that hotels have to solve, and they are solving. And this has to be conveyed visually also to the end audience that yes, we are maintaining social distancing when planning meeting spaces. And more than social distancing, I would prefer the term safe distancing, as one of my friends recommended, because that conveys the gist in a better way. Next is immersive ads. So we have all seen ads and at some point interacted or irritated or bought because of static ads, you know, the simple images that we can see, or GIFs which interacts with us, or small 6 second, 20 second, 30-second videos that convince us to buy a product. But I think as hotels, we need to differentiate our product. We need more engaging video formats, more engaging ad formats, which is beyond the current ones. And as you showed in some examples, like what the Swiss Air did, those things have become more important now than ever, because people can't touch or interact and they don't have time or the patience. How do we actually involve them in what we want to say and get their attention and use it? Room sales, uh, while it is on a hit, but we hope and with time it will come back. But again, while we are promoting room offers, how do we promote that effectively? How do we not only promote the bed in the room, but the package inclusions visually? How do we showcase the room at that, not just a place to sleep for the night, but as a place where you can also be entertained, where you can get all the information without the need of actually going to a smart screen or touching a collateral, right? That's the challenge that we have. And last is wedding tours. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of big resorts and hotels who make their major revenue from weddings. And whenever you book a wedding there, if you have been part of a hotel, you know that there is a series of site inspections. There is the bride side, the groom side, the event manager from both sides. They come again, they look at every nook and corner, they plan what to put where to put stage, and all those nitty gritties, because it's a sub billion dollar industry, and you know, nobody wants to leave anything a chance, and there's so much money involved. Now people will be scared to come for those tours. So the problem here is how we can take the show rounds to the guests at the comfort of their house, so that they not need to come at our place, but still sitting at the comfort of their office or home, they know everything they need to know to book us. So these are the areas, challenges, concerns that we have. And with the example that you showed, I have a glimpse of hope. and I will look and we'll see how going forward we can solve not maybe all but some of these problems using these new technologies and come out winner and smarter in this crisis.
Right.
So over to you, Shiva. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for summing up the entire marketing situation from a hotel and a brand perspective as well. That, what are the key challenges that you guys are seeing that's going to come. And I think this is the topic where we are going to enter into the challenges that Preetham has just mentioned right now. How is that we can look at solving those using these immersive technology, right? I can also see a question in the chat box by Mr. Rakesh Kumar Gupta, which is about how can you make your guests feel safe while dining out, right? How will you ensure secluded hygiene in restaurants? So, Mr. Rakesh, what we'll do is when I'm taking you through this slide, I'll keep on giving those solutions as well. That what are we looking at and how we can support hotels in terms of ensuring that. So, the first step in order to prepare ourselves for this new era of immersive marketing is to create immersive marketing assets. Now, what I mean by your marketing assets are your websites. You've done your brochures, you've done your folders, you've done print ads, right? Now, all of these things are regular what you've been doing, right? But now, when we are entering into the new age, we need to start looking at immersive marketing assets and solve some of those questions that Preetham just rightly mentioned. How do we get the hotel experience to the person sitting at home so that he can feel the property and he can probably cancel out that added on trip that they used to do to check the property before they book it, right? So I think that's where the interactive property walkthroughs are really going to make sense. I think all of you guys already know about 360-degree videos, but we need to move away from that also. We need to make it interactive. You can't, there's no longer space for people to just see your hotel in a 360-degree perspective. Try to showcase your hygiene measures enabled within that same video. Try to showcase your USPs within that same video. What we saw with Swiss Air in that earlier video of AR usage, I think that was brilliant because it gave you a sight into what that entire flight looks like. At the same time, with every touch, they were highlighting their USP. They were talking about how it's comfortable, how they have the infotainment. The same can be enabled over a 360-degree experience that we can create for hotels, brands. It can be enabled over the web. It can be enabled over VR. It can be also enabled over AR. So with AR, augmented reality, what you can do is your guest can he'll get a link from you. You'll open the link. And when he switches on his camera, he's sitting in his own room, but he'll feel like he's sitting in a hotel room because the furniture and everything around him has changed. That will just give him an experience of what your hotel is really all about. So that's possible. AR based food menus. And I think coming on to Mr. Rakesh's question as well. So for a regular guest dining out, there were so many touch points, right from sitting on the table, sitting on the chair, then like opening the menu, right, selecting the item, having that interaction with the executive in terms of understanding what's your item, what's the best dish on your menu. There was so much interaction. All of that interaction can go away with an AR environment for your food. This is just a glimpse. I think this reservations and everything can be taken care through an app or probably through an AR environment created marketing campaign for you. So we'll just show you guys a quick video and I'll keep on explaining you along with it how it can be used. It's working for me. I hope it's working for everyone else as well. They can see it on their screen. So remember how on our websites we have the nearby attraction and the map. All of that can turn into an AR environment. So this is actually from a phone of a person who's just sitting in the room. They've opened their camera, they've scanned, and they can see or the entire map of the city in front of them. They can choose and select hotels on the screen itself, and they can even immerse into the room. So ahead in the video, you guys going to see how they get into the room as well. Right, so all those aspects that we had in a 2D environment can become immersive. So we can probably create like an AR environment where people just dive into the hotel, they can check out the room. This is an AR exploration of food, right? So if you want to understand, or this can be used for food delivery campaigns as well. If you really want to showcase those glorious steaks that you guys do, or those glorious burgers that you guys do. Uh, a beautiful marketing campaign could be where people could just select it on their phone and they can see it on their plates, and then they have the option of even ordering it from there, right? That is how we can create an entire digital ecosystem where at least you've satiated the people's eyes, you've made them drool about your photo, about your food, and that's when they're making the order, right? So that's how you can use your marketing campaigns, enable AR, and create more interesting marketing assets. Right? I think that's the first thing, and I hope, Mr. Rakesh Kumar, I've answered your question in a certain way. There are a lot of safe distancing measures that a lot of hotels are also taking in terms of 6 feet distance between the two tables, minimum contact with the executive, and you can scan the menu from your phone and you can make the selection. You can even pay the bill from your phone instead of doing card transactions and all of that. So I think that's how the new normal is going to look at, and people are really going to adopt into that measure. The other part comes is reimagine guest experiences. So I could see Preetham's point also, which said that we have to reimagine our spaces. Similarly, we have to reimagine our guest experiences because, I mean, if I walk into a hotel, I know that I want to hear that namaste. I want to, probably if you're going to a resort for vacation, you get that tika on your head, right? And you always have someone at the front desk who can help you make your itinerary, tell you where you can travel within the city. Now all of that experience is going to cut down, right? No longer can you have that same warmth of a human touch really translating to your guest, because unfortunately we have to go away from that. So how do we create an inclusive digital environment to give the same experiences and keep our guests engaged with us? I think that's the key. So the first point that I have on the slide says bring your lobby to life with augmented reality. A very simple example. In America, there's a hotel which used to get a lot of celebrity crowd. So what they did was, in an AR environment, they created those celebrities. So if I go to the hotel now, I can just open my camera, and if I see, I'll feel like those celebrities are walking in the lobby. And that was a marketing campaign for them to showcase how this spot is frequented by the celebrities, right? So it just brought their entire lobby to life. And in fact, in our last episode, I remember there was a question which came from Ankesh from Marriott, who had asked the same question, that how do we activate our lobbies, because they've literally been ignored for years, and we don't do justice to our lobbies. So I think that's what needs to be done. Your lobbies can turn into an AR environment where people can interact and get to know more about your brand, your offerings in a fun way. The second point, which is I think very interesting, is AR and gamification for upselling. So gamification is basically when you turn your AR experience into a game. So if I open my phone, switch on the camera, and I'm in the lobby, I can probably look at some of the paintings that you have in the lobby, and it's going to tell me about the history of the painting or something. And it ends with a quiz. And if I'm able to answer that, I get like a free dinner at one of your restaurants. So that's basically gamification, getting you engaged with and interact with the brand, and at the same time upsell, right? I see this being utilized a lot in resorts. If you expect a lot of family crowd coming to you, it's very important for you to keep the kids busy and happy, right? So keeping kids entertained with AR games is something which is, I think, really gonna kick in. You can make the kids roam around your property, and let's say you are at a location which is very famous for crocodiles, or you're at a location which is very famous for a particular style of animals. Then the kid can probably see those animals in the AR environment within your property, and they'll get to know it. They'll get to know them better without stepping outside the resort and in a safe environment. That is what how your guest experiences can really change. Experiential digital campaigns backed by influencers. No longer do you need like a long video explaining everything. You can just send them a link, they'll open it, and they'll experience your brand campaign in an AR environment, which is basically that if I'm talking about how I have the best burgers in the world, so why not show it, right? Why not walk the talk? So basically they'll open the ad and they can see the burger on their plate, and they'll see how gigantic it is, how juicy the patty is, right? And that will really bring the experience. And how do you make it easily adoptable by your guests? You do an influencer campaign behind it. So when they see influencers using their camera and showcasing the burger, even they will want to try it because it's new, it's unique, right? So I think that's what the reimagining guest experience is all about. And a very interesting fact here, which we are using in e-learning, and it's a fact that after 2 weeks you remember 10% of what you have read, right? In a normal scenario, whatever you've read 2 weeks back, 10% of that is what you remember. 30% of what you see is what you remember, right? And for what you say and do, 90% of that you remember. So when we do campaigns in AR and VR environment, where we're literally getting people engrossed into the campaign, the stickiness of your brand, the stickiness of your product, the stickiness of your USP is gonna be way more. And that's why this technology is so beautiful.
Right. Before we move to the next slide, I can just think of two gamification ideas on my at this point. One is that at a resort, as you said, suppose it's a near a sea and it is known for fishing, so maybe we can have a virtual pond in the center of lobby where the kids can actually use their phones and actually do fishing. Or
Absolutely. Yeah.
maybe nowadays people are also very conscious about their diet and the what goes into their dishes.
Correct.
So
Correct.
you can have a game like like you create Lego games where you assemble things and create
Right.
stuff. So maybe we can ask you to create a salad of your own where you put together ingredients in an AI environment. You can also show us how you want it to be decorated. What should come on top, what should come on below.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's something that's being done in the food environment as well, where you could just assemble in the AR environment from your phone, like how you want your burger, you want double patty, you want the extra cheese, and it'll just show in front of you it's being stacked,
Yeah.
right? And you can place the order, and the order will be delivered in that same particular manner. So that's how engrossing this technology can really be, right?
Yeah.
And that's how, like, I think lobby activations are something which is very important, because since as hotels we've got so much space, right? And unfortunately we've been asked now to, like, keep that distance in the space. So how do we make it engaging? And another interesting point here is, I was reading something about how now we'll have to maintain the safe distance. There will be longer queue times, right? Like, because people will be standing in the queue for a longer period of time. So how
Right.
do you keep them engaged during that? One of the beverages company did a beautiful campaign. So they have those stickers, right? Like, now we have to put stickers after 6 feet that you can stand here, you can stand here. And what this brand really did, that towards the last end of the stickers, like, if you're like 10 or 15 stickers away, they basically put up a QR code so people could scan it, and the entire store turned into a shooting arcade for cans. And if you shoot 10 cans, then by the time you've reached the cash register, if you show that you've shot 10 cans, they will give you a free Coke. So it just, like, turned it into an entire experience for people to stand in the queue. And I think this is a beautiful example what we have on the screen of how one of the hotels activated their lobby. So they had a lot of artworks around, and they just put the artworks to life. So if you go around the artwork and you put your camera on, the artwork starts animating and it comes to life.
Amazing.
And they had this one beautiful thing. Yeah, I think this, like, it's, I think, about baseball. And as soon as you scan it, it starts showing like the history of it and the schedule. And I remember seeing one of where they had a poster of a band. Yeah, here it is. And as soon as you go, that song starts playing and the video starts playing for that on your phone screen. So this is the beauty of how you can literally utilize AR and activate your hotel environments. And I think a lot of people's the question would be coming that I'm sure there must be an expensive experience. I can vouch for the fact the amount that you guys used to spend on your print ads in some of the biggest publications, it's cheaper than that. So it's something. It's just about creating that experience, and I think that I'll come on to another slide where I talk about it. That it's not just about the technology; it's about how you're translating your brand experience and using this technology as a medium.
Yeah, before you move on, Shiva, I'd just like to add one point. It is, it was interesting to notice that in the food, I was giving salad examples and you're giving burger examples. It
I've been
just shows
craving
the
for it.
interests.
I see a lot of hoteliers on the call tonight. So if anyone's there who can deliver a nice burger in Pune, please help me out.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. So now we move into the immersive advertising. A lot of you have utilized a lot of social media marketing ads, right? In the hospitality network, we see a lot of ads being pushed about our events, about our food events, about our room offerings. All of these ads which we've done are in the 2D environment. We've done static ads, we've done display ads, we've done video ads, right? Now the true reflection of our spaces are in 3D environment. Like they talk about experiential marketing. So why not our ads should be of that value as well, right? So now we do have the option of doing 360-degree ads. So like if you see like a banner ad on your screen, if you put your mouse over it, you can do like a 360-degree view, and then you can select and go further in your digital journey. So I think that shift is very important, and I think no longer do you need your traditional social media agencies to do those 2D ads. I mean, it's not no longer about that daily post. It's more about how are you getting your customers engaged and for a longer period of time, and being in their mind. So I think these immersive ads do really well. We have the option of web-based AR ads. So basically, we can just share a link or a QR code, and a person scans, and he feels like he's already sitting in a Marriott or a Hilton or in a call room. And I think that's the beauty of immersive advertising. Another interesting point is the third point, a packaging that can talk. We are actually trying to work this with one of our clients where, so if you remember traditional packaging, let's just take like a protein, in your case, let's just take like a food delivery example. All of us are doing beautiful packaging now because food delivery has suddenly become like such a big thing, an important thing for all the hotels, right? So we are doing beautiful packages and delivering it to the customer. Now customer is getting a nice experience when they order from a hotel. The food gets delivered by a car. The hygiene measures which I've taken, the packaging is nice, clean, and safe. Now, how can you utilize that packaging for upselling? Simple. You can enable a QR code on your packaging. If a person scans that, they get into an AR environment. They open their camera, and at the same time, they can probably see what's special about your menu. They can see that steak, or they can see that burger, or they can talk about how you maintain the hygiene measure in your kitchen. Right? It just gives you extra confidence as a consumer. We are trying with a protein bar brand where the protein bars, because there's so much information that you have to literally put on the packaging, that sometimes some communication gets missed out. We are making sure that that communication goes through in an AR environment. So when a person scans that particular bar packaging, they are able to see all the nutrients and all the products that have gone into making that bar, how it's been created through an ad in the AR environment, right? So that's where literally technology is going. And the fourth and the most important point, I don't know how many of you attended the web chat that was done by Mark Zuckerberg, who where he spoke about how Facebook is enabling shop to the next level. So now Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all will have their shop section where people can directly buy from the platform, right? And they are also enabling AR environments in the shop, which basically means that people can try the product in an AR environment. So if I'm buying furniture, I can literally try whether the sofa is going to look nice in my living room or not, and then make my purchase decision. So if the platforms are already moving to that environment, as content creators and as brands, we need to start creating content in the 3D environment, right? To be able to push it as those kind of ads. So I think that's the real importance of immersive advertising here.
Right. And I just want to add two more examples when you talked about packaging. So when it comes to hygiene, one more factor that is important is the temperature of the person who has made the food and who has served the food. And I think some restaurant in Coimbatore did that. Apart from showcasing the hygiene measures of the kitchen, and there's a one hotel in Delhi which also showcases live. You can actually go and see the kitchen in live environment, what's happening. So
Correct.
all that, instead of putting separate links and stuff, you can just put it together in an AR app. What I think you're suggesting, and
Right.
that can have elements of food menu which can be used, can be upselling. There can be option of, how can you make a payment. You can see the hygiene things going live in the kitchen, and you can also see the temperature of the person who has made the food and served the food. And
Correct.
while the guest can see it real time in an AI environment, which is more real to him, and
Right.
the back end, because it's on in an app that is owned by the hotel, hotel can real time go and make changes. You can remove a food item, you can add a food item, you can change a temperature, you can stop or restart the live feed. So
Right.
basically, it's really a packaging that can talk. And the difference is that, you could think that, this could also be on YouTube, and you can see that as a video.
Correct.
But again, YouTube is 2D. It is not as exciting anymore. And
Right.
when you're doing on AR, basically that you can also control the environment. So the information that you're seeing, it may feel like, the package has actually, the letters have come up on the package itself and being seen here,
Correct.
and you did not go to a third party site and wait for a video to open, right? So
So
you are looking
yeah.
it then and there.
So adding on to that, Preetham, like, even in e-learning and storytelling, like, we've gone to that extent where, like, we love teaching our kids like moral-based stories, right? So when they're opening the book, they can see the story happening, and at the same time, at an important juncture of the story, the kid gets to make the choice. Like, will he cut the tree or will he just pass through the tree? Like, like those
Right.
life
Right.
skill lessons, and they can select the answers and they can see the consequences of their choices,
Right.
right? That is where e-learning is moving towards. So just imagine what all we can do with hospitality marketing as well, right? How you can use your packaging to get that assurance, because I think right now it's more about trust building uh, with the current situation. A very important point for all of us to understand that these technologies only enable and give a platform to your story, right? So as people working in the hospitality segment, we always talk about experiential marketing and how we can show that. So finding that right experience and brand story is still the core, and then you let the technology play its part in terms of bringing it into life for people, right? And why we are having this talk also right now is it's not about something about the future. Like I remember, like till about I think 5 or 6 years back, we used to talk about VR headsets and all of this in a very futuristic manner. That Acha, this is what the world is gonna move towards, or this is what's gonna happen, and blah blah blah. All of this is happening right now, right? It's happening right now. So it's not about the future anymore. It's about what's happening right now and what brands are moving towards. And I'll just try to give you like a very short glimpse. I think we've gone through a lot of examples. I'll just give you a glimpse of what's happening ahead. What are companies really working on? VR experience events. There have been talks. How do we get our baseball, cricket, and everything back into people's minds? So there are talk about VR experience events. So basically, you'll be sitting at your home. My friend is sitting in Chicago, and but we want to watch a match together. So both of us are going to put our VR headsets. We'll feel like we're sitting next to each other and we're watching our favorite match, and we are doing the friendly banter going on. Right. So that's really what a VR experience event is going to come through. A lot of companies have already enabled that in terms of happening. Buying advertising space in the virtual world. So right now, I think as people working in the marketing field, we still rub our heads against the whole what is the cost of that particular billboard close to my hotel? What is the cost of that space in that particular magazine? I think you guys need to understand what's happening now. What people are talking about now is that they will be buying ad spaces in the virtual environment. So if I've created a virtual environment, people are buying ad spaces in that, like a billboard or a product placement during that virtual experience. And there's a company which is already doing that. It's called AdMix, and it's one of the companies I think being supported by Facebook and Google right now, and they are really creating some amazing stuff. Then we were talking about thin laptops. We are using MacBook Airs and all, which are literally so thin that you can't see it. I think all of that is also going to move away because with Magic Leap and all these softwares where you can just wear a glass and the entire processing and the computer power remains in that glass is going to change how we use computers as well. There's a wonderful campaign that I saw for real estate, which was there's a company which is letting you stay in your new house for 5 days before you buy that house. So basically, they're giving you VR headsets, you're wearing around in your own house, and you feel that you are in a new house, and this is what your new house is going to look like or feel like. You've got your consumer engrossed in that space, in that environment. He loves his new life, and that's when he puts his money out, right? Managing life in the physical and digital world. There's just like a fun fact, you guys should check out this thing called the Second Life, which is a virtual environment which has been created where people, and there's an economy which has been created inside that. and there are billionaires in that economy also, and which translates some into the physical life also. So there are literal billionaires in the virtual life, and they have been featured on magazine like Forbes and Business World and all. And this is the truth. Like, it's not like a campaign or something, but this is the actual truth. So this is where we are heading towards, and some of this is already happening.
Right. And I want just to add one thing on that. So when you talk about advertising, right, in hotels, one thing is very dear to us. We really like to upsell and promote our offers or F&B promotions to guests when they come into the hotel. Now, with the whole concept of having a safe distance, people won't be spending too much time in lobby, and the costs have to be controlled. So, are we looking at a solution where we can have maybe AR billboards or AR posters in the hotel lobby, where guest using the AR app, he just points his camera to the TV and the menu comes up, or he points the camera to the dining table in his room and the menu comes up, or he's just pointing his camera to anywhere in the lobby, and the latest promotion that is going on just pops up in front of
Right,
his screen.
right. So that also is something which is already being enabled. So one more campaign that I recently saw. So you can create any marker, like any trigger for your AR environment. So if I open my camera on my phone, it needs a trigger, right? There was one campaign which used the moon as the trigger because it was something related to nature. So they
Right.
said that at night, just go switch on your camera and point it towards the moon, and that triggered the AR environment to showcase the new campaign. So people are doing some wonderful stuff, and I think it's high time that in terms of we bring that play into hospitality marketing.
Right. And before we end this, as you talked about VR experience and events, from the sports point of view.
Right.
But I would like to bring your attention from a hotel point of view. As I mentioned earlier, we do lots of weddings and events.
Correct. Correct.
So in that environment, if we are going to do a wedding and people can't travel, so how can VR AR help in making more people feel that they are part of that event? Can we do something of that sort?
So this is something which is happening again, and I think there are a couple of people who are trying this, and it actually makes a lot of business sense to me. See, so the requirement of a space is still going to be there, right? The requirement of the space is not going away. So if I'm a fashion brand, I want to do a fashion show, I will still need like that your hotel banquet room to be able to put it out for people to view. Whether people are viewing it sitting there or sitting at the comfort of their home is a different question, right? But they still want to run it, and then they want to live stream it and put it in an environment where their guests can actually witness the action happening in a beautiful environment. And at the same time, you can like always enable like a payment gateway as a cost to entry to watch that experience. So those are some of the things for weddings. I think there are two particular instances that we need to look at. One is before you do an intimate, let's say, wedding at a hotel property, you want to make sure you mentioned that the event organizers wants to see the hotel. We are working on a couple of things called experience centers, which basically means that we can create an entire virtual environment of your hotel banqueting space, and people either you can create the experience center at the hotel, or you can deliver that experience to a person at their homes in form of a VR headset. When they put the VR headset, they will see your entire banqueting setup, and they can make selections on that. That okay, let's say I want like a beachside wedding, so I probably take like a beach location of your property, and then I'm going to do that. I want my mandap here, so I can make my selections, the color of the carpet, the color of the flowers. I can like literally visualize my dream wedding and hand it over to the property that this is what I want. You guys set it up, and we're in.
Right. No, that solves the problem of how we can sell and confirm a
Correct.
booking. And I also was what I was trying to say is was the possibility of somebody who can't even out of after all this, and because there's still limitations to number of people who can attend, right? So
Right.
somebody sitting at the home, how can they have an immersive experience of the feel that they will feel that they're part of the celebrations without being actually there?
So I think VR streaming is already something which is there and which is happening, right? So even that entire wedding experience can be captured in a VR streaming mechanism where people sitting at different parts of the world are getting immersed in that wedding. And just from the topic of wedding, it's a little away from your question, but when we were talking about marketing assets, um, even like your normal assets like wedding cards, like that could be a unique point that you put forward to your customers, that we can make your wedding cards come to life. Like no longer you just need that flat paper card, right? Basically, the story of the bride and groom is gonna pop out. The all the pre-shoot pre-wedding shoots that people do, that can come through their wedding card itself. So even your wedding cards can come to life. So I think that's really the power of this technology.
Yeah. So with your business card, weddings card, you can actually be floating like a screen with an AI
Yeah,
environment, right?
absolutely. And it just, the entire point of this is that you want your audiences to spend more time on your brand and understand your brand more and get more immersed in your brand, so that the sticky value increases, right? So
Perfect.
and you know what this is, and this is exactly the reason, like we know that we've been working on this for like a couple of months now. And I think we also saw it coming in a way that with the whole contactless world, even the marketing needs to evolve. And that's what here at Strobe that we've done. We've created a new identity altogether. It's called Strobe Now. And the reason for being it called now is because that change is happening right now. Right. And we've been powered by these wonderful partners that we found in Synex Visuals, who are really helping us enable this technology, and create beautiful brand campaigns, brand stories, and use their medium to really put it out. So we are doing a lot of these interactive VR walkthroughs where people can walk through a particular property, do their selections. We are doing web-based AR experiences and advertising. So you can now create AR ads instead of doing a basic social media ad. You can do an AR ad. So person looks at your ad, they scan it, and they just get engrossed into a new environment altogether. We are doing immersive social media. Social media is going to change. It's no longer going to be about beautiful photos of the hotel. It's going to be more immersive now, and I think that's what we're really trying to introduce people to. We are creating experience development centers. So we are looking at assets around banqueting spaces, how you can make your banquet come to life, how you can sell it better. Right. We are doing this for different industries. We are doing it for hospitality. We are doing some interesting work in real estate where people can really customize their home sitting at the comfort of their home, and then ask the builder to deliver the home in that particular way. And e-learning, again, something which is really kicking off. So that's what we've done. We've introduced a new identity called Strobe Now, which is being powered by Synex Visuals. And we are happy to take over any queries, or there any campaigns that you guys feel is really going to help out with this. Right. So that's what I had from my side. And yeah, I'll be